What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Have you ever stopped to think that if this is true, perhaps the only one responsible for being at rock bottom is you? But relax, this isn't an accusation. It's liberating. Because if you created this mental prison yourself, it means you also hold the key to escape, and I'm going to show you how. You may be at rock bottom now, but it all starts with a single decision. Not just any decision, like those promises you've already made to yourself and broken, but a firm, conscious decision that leaves no room for turning back. The truth is, most people never get anywhere because they wait for the right moment. But I ask you, when was the last time that so-called right moment actually arrived in your life? It never does, because there's no perfect moment. There's only the moment you definitively decide you're not willing to stay where you are anymore. How many times have you repeated to yourself, I'll start on Monday, next month I'll change, when I have more money things will be different, and when Monday arrives, when the month turns, when the opportunity appears, do you still remain trapped in the same habits? This is the trap of procrastination, and it's costly, because every day you let slip by is one less day of life to transform your reality. Napoleon Hill said that every achievement begins with a decision. He proved it himself. When he was a young reporter, he had the chance to interview Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest and most influential men of his time. In that meeting, Hill received a challenge to study the lives of the most successful men and women in the world for more than 20 years and record the laws of success. Can you imagine the weight of that decision? A poor young man, without resources, without guarantees, accepting a commitment that would completely change the course of his life. He could have hesitated, he could have said no, he could have convinced himself that he wasn't capable, but he decided. And it was that decision that transformed a simple journalist into one of the most influential authors in history. Now I ask you, how many times have you hesitated and let opportunities slip away because you were waiting to feel ready? Hesitation is the greatest thief of dreams. And the curious thing is that even when you don't decide, you're already deciding. You're choosing to stay exactly where you are, stuck at the bottom. Modern research proves this. Behavioral studies show that 92% of people who make New Year's resolutions abandon their goals in the first few weeks, not because they're not capable, but because they never truly decided. They only wished, and wishing doesn't move mountains. What moves mountains is a firm decision, accompanied by consistent action. And if you think deciding is risky, consider the risk of not deciding. Staying still, waiting for luck, continuing to muddle through. That's also a decision, and it's precisely the decision that keeps thousands of people in debt, frustrated, and trapped in jobs they hate. How many people do you know who have spent their whole lives complaining but never had the courage to put a stop to it? Deciding is risky, yes, but not deciding costs infinitely more. When you make a real decision, it's as if you burn the ships behind you. There's no turning back, only one possible path: forward. That's when you begin to attract new situations, people, and opportunities that previously seemed invisible. Life somehow responds to commitment. So, I want to provoke you now. What decision have you been putting off? What's that change you know you need to make, but always invent excuses to postpone? Maybe it's changing your relationship with money. Maybe it's taking care of your health. Maybe it's stopping accepting less than you deserve in your relationships. Whatever it is, the time is now. Don't wait for conditions to change. Don't wait for someone to come rescue you. Think about it. If Napoleon Hill had waited to be ready, he might never have written the book that inspired millions of people. If Andrew Carnegie had waited for the perfect circumstances, he might never have built his empire. And if you keep waiting, where will you be in 5 years? The decision is the spark that ignites the engine of change. Without it, nothing happens. With it, everything becomes possible. Choose, and choose today, because your life won't change on its own. And if you still have doubts, remember this: rock bottom is just the place where you realize there's nowhere else to dig. The only way is up. And that path begins with your decision. No great achievement happens without prior pain, difficulty, and falling. Resilience isn't just a pretty word to post on social media. It's the force that separates those who rebuild their lives from those who remain broken. The truth is, rock bottom isn't just a place of suffering, but also the place where you discover what you're truly made of. It's easy to believe in yourself when everything is going right, but it's when nothing seems to work, when the bills don't add up, when you're rejected, when the fear of failure or loneliness grips your chest, that life tests your ability to persevere. How many times have you thought about giving up because it seemed like nothing was working out? This happens to almost everyone. A survey by the American Psychological Association revealed that 91% of people have experienced stress related to money so great that they considered abandoning their plans. The problem is that most people actually give up. They give up because they believe that failure is the end, when in fact failure is only a rehearsal for victory. Look at the story of Walt Disney. Before creating the empire we know today, he went through bankruptcies, rejections, and was fired from a newspaper on the grounds that he lacked creativity. Imagine if he had accepted that sentence, if he had believed he wasn't creative. The world would never have known Mickey Mouse, and millions of people wouldn't have experienced the magic he decided to build. What set him apart wasn't luck, but resilience. He understood that every fall was just a step on the ladder that would take him to the top. And this is where the reflection comes in. How many times have you interpreted a failure as a full stop when it could have been just a comma? Think of the times when a no made you stop when it could have pushed you to find a better path. How many dreams have been buried because of a momentary loss? Napoleon Hill also experienced this. In the midst of the Great Depression, he lost almost everything he had. He could have surrendered. He could have given up on his mission to teach the principles of success. But it was precisely in this period of pain that he wrote, "Think and Grow Rich," the work that would change the lives of millions of people. He transformed his suffering into fuel. That failure wasn't the end. It was the birth of his greatest contribution to the world. And here's the emotion of this story. The sadness of loss transformed into inspiration to create something eternal. Resilience works like a muscle. It only grows when it's demanded. If you run from pain, if you avoid difficulties, you also avoid the opportunity to grow. Each obstacle is like a heavy workout, painful in the moment, but strength-building in the long run. And the greater the pressure, the greater the transformation that can occur. Now stop and reflect. Could what you call bad luck, defeat, a burden, be exactly the test you need to overcome to achieve the life you want? Could this difficult phase be the fertile ground where the stronger version of you is being built? Resilience doesn't eliminate fear, but it redefines its role. Instead of being a weight that paralyzes you, it transforms into focus. Instead of being the voice that says give up, it becomes a reminder that you're on the right path, because nobody encounters resistance if they're not moving forward. So, if today you're at rock bottom, remember that this isn't the end of your story. Rock bottom isn't the graveyard of dreams, it's the training ground of resilience. And if you choose not to give up, if you decide to get up one more time than you fall, you will inevitably emerge stronger, more prepared, and more aware of your true power. Failure only destroys those who accept defeat as a final sentence. But for those who rise again, it's just proof that victory is just ahead. If there's a silent enemy that destroys more dreams than any crisis, unemployment, or lack of opportunity, that enemy is the lack of belief in oneself. You may have talent, you may have brilliant ideas, you may even have resources at your disposal, but if you don't believe in your own worth, none of that matters. It's like driving a car with the parking brake on. You step on the gas, you make noise, you expend energy, but you don't move. How many times have you thought, this isn't for me? Perhaps in the face of a job opening that seemed too high for your resume or a project that seemed too big for your capacity. This little phrase, repeated so many times by millions of people, closes doors before they can even be opened. It's not the lack of opportunity that limits most people. It's the lack of faith in themselves. Napoleon Hill understood this early on. He grew up in a poor region, without great prospects, but he believed he could become a writer capable of impacting the world. And even when he received rejections, even when he went through financial difficulties, he continued to nurture that belief. This doesn't mean he didn't have doubts or fears, but it means he never allowed those feelings to be greater than his faith in himself. That belief was his fuel to keep writing, interviewing big names, and ultimately leaving a legacy that has spanned generations. Science confirms the importance of this belief. Research conducted by Stanford University shows that people with a growth mindset, that is, those who believe they can evolve and learn, are 34% more likely to achieve their goals than those who believe they are stuck with their limitations. This means that believing in yourself isn't just positive thinking, it's a proven strategy to increase your chances of success. But believing in yourself isn't a magic formula, it's a daily exercise. Imagine looking in the mirror and instead of seeing your flaws, seeing potential. How many times do you remember reinforcing your own qualities? Most people repeat criticisms, remember mistakes, and relive failures, creating a fragile, distrustful identity. But identity is a choice. You can decide to reinforce, day after day, the image of someone capable, resilient, and deserving of achievement. Think of how many artists, entrepreneurs, and athletes were ignored before becoming recognized. What made them persist was precisely this inner belief. They continued even when no one else believed. And the question that remains is, if they could, why couldn't you? Excessive self-criticism is an invisible prison. How many opportunities have you let slip away because you convinced yourself you weren't ready? How many projects have remained shelved because your inner voice said you weren't good enough? The truth is, no one ever feels totally ready. The world doesn't wait for perfection. The world responds to confidence. This is the big key. Self-confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean thinking you're better than others. It means aligning your view of yourself with your true potential. It means giving yourself the chance to try, to fail, to learn, and to grow. And that's what separates those who achieve from those who only dream. If you're feeling down and out, the first step to climbing out is changing how you see yourself. Start affirming, I am capable, I am worthy, I will succeed. These aren't just motivational phrases, they're seeds. Like any seed, they need consistent nurturing to grow into strong roots. The world isn't waiting for a perfect version of you. It's waiting for the version that believes it can begin, even if scared. The moment you genuinely believe in your worth, everything around you will start to align. Because when you change your self-perception, you change how others perceive you. Believe in yourself, even when no one else does. Ultimately, the only voice that can truly lift you out of the depths is your own. There's an invisible force separating those who achieve extraordinary results from those who drift aimlessly. A defined purpose. Without it, life becomes a rudderless ship. Every wind pushes you, every distraction seems like a path, and you end up lost in a sea of unproductive activity. Ever felt perpetually busy, only to realize you haven't progressed on anything truly meaningful? That's a lack of direction. A defined purpose is like having an internal compass. It's knowing where you're going, even when things seem confusing. Think about how many times you've said yes to things you didn't want, simply because you lacked clarity about what you truly desired. These yeses drain your energy, overload you, and create the illusion of progress while you're spinning your wheels. Napoleon Hill consistently emphasized that every successful person he interviewed had a defined purpose. Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, they all knew what they wanted to build before they had the resources. Inspired by them, Hill adopted this principle. It was no coincidence that when Andrew Carnegie challenged him to spend 20 years studying the greatest minds of his era, Hill embraced it as his life's mission. It wasn't just a project, it was the purpose guiding every subsequent decision. Steve Jobs' example is equally compelling. While the world saw computers as cold, inaccessible machines, Jobs had a clear purpose: to put a personal computer in every home, to make technology accessible and even artistic. This vision filtered all his decisions. He rejected ideas that didn't align with it. When Apple nearly failed, this purpose propelled his comeback. It wasn't just technical skill, it was the unwavering clarity of his direction. You might wonder, what if I don't know my purpose? Many don't, because they've never clearly defined what they want. They harbor vague desires. I want to be happy, I want money, I want success. But what does happiness mean to you? What constitutes success in your eyes? Money for what purpose? These answers can't be superficial. The more specific you are, the stronger the energy you attract to achieve your goals. Imagine having that clarity daily. How many wrong decisions would you avoid? How many distractions would you eliminate? How many no's would you dare to utter? This clarity is liberating. Without purpose, effort becomes exhausting. With purpose, even sacrifice gains meaning. Life won't wait for you to stumble upon your purpose. You must decide. Declare to yourself, this is what I want. This is what I will build. It doesn't matter if you lack resources today or if it seems impossible. The impossible is merely what hasn't yet been attempted by someone with clarity and determination. When you define your purpose, the world reorganizes itself. People appear, opportunities arise, your energy multiplies. Without clarity, the world decides for you. You end up living other people's dreams, accepting leftovers, surviving instead of living. So ask yourself, what's your North Star? What's the reason that would make you rise every day, even when tired, even when no one believes? When you find that answer, protect it, write it down, repeat it daily, make it a filter for every decision. Those who live with purpose don't circle. They build legacies. Passion is the fire that keeps the flame burning when all seems dark. Without it, any journey becomes too heavy, too monotonous, almost unbearable. How many people do you know who spend years in jobs they hate, counting down the minutes until the weekend or vacation, just to feel a little relief? That's autopilot. It's existing, not living. A lack of passion is why so many feel a deep emptiness, even when they seemingly have everything: a salary, stability, even recognition. But deep down, the spark is missing, that energy that makes you jump out of bed with enthusiasm. Passion isn't optional. It transforms work into a mission, effort into pleasure, obstacles into fuel. Science backs this up. A Gallup study showed that 85% of people worldwide don't feel engaged in their work. Most are merely surviving, not living intensely. How can anyone achieve extraordinary results without enjoying the process? What makes you vibrate? What would you dedicate yourself to even without immediate recognition? What activities make time fly by unnoticed? These are clues to your true passion. If you haven't found it, look at what deeply bothers you, what excites you, what sparks indignation or enthusiasm. Passion often hides in these strong feelings. Your passion might be the difference the world needs. How many incredible projects never launched because their creators didn't put their hearts into them? How many giant movements were born because someone followed their passion, even when no one believed? Passionate people inspire others, creating a powerful cycle of transformation. I challenge you. Over the next few days, observe your routine and identify moments when your energy surges. Notice what truly motivates you, helping others, creating, teaching, building, solving problems. It doesn't matter. When you find it, don't ignore it. Cultivate it, nurture it, turn it into daily action. Life's too short to live without passion. You're not here just to survive. You're here to leave your mark. You'll only do that when you discover and intensely live what ignites the fire within you. Passion is the fuel that transforms your life into a story worth remembering. Transformation begins within you, the moment you decide to take control and align your life with a higher purpose. That's the real turning point, because when your mind changes, everything around you inevitably begins to change too. To continue your journey, the next video will help you take another step in your wisdom evolution to become 1% better than you are now. Thank you for being with me, and I'll see you in the next video.